My fiancé told me I should be more like my sister, so I told him to marry her instead, and he actually did. I was standing in the kitchen when he said it again. You know, your sister would have just laughed that off. My fiancé Derek was leaning against the counter with his arms crossed, that same half smile he always wore when he thought he was being charming. We'd been arguing about the seating chart for the wedding. Something small, something stupid, and somehow it had turned into this. I kept my voice light. Well, I'm not Vanessa. I know, he shrugged. I'm just saying, she doesn't take things so seriously. You could learn from that. The words landed like a slap, but I forced myself to smile. It wasn't the first time he'd said something like this. Not even close. 3 weeks ago, at my parents' house, he'd told my mom that Vanessa had better taste in wine. A month before that, he'd joked to his friends that my sister knew how to dress for a night out, implying I didn't. And the night he proposed, the night I was supposed to feel like the center of his world, he'd mentioned that Vanessa helped him pick the ring because she knew what would suit me. I'd laughed it off every time, told myself he didn't mean it the way it sounded. But standing there, watching him scroll through his phone like he hadn't just compared me to my sister for the 100th time, something cracked. Why do you keep doing that? He glanced up. Doing what? Comparing me to her. I'm not comparing you. He set his phone down, his tone shifting to that patient, condescending register he used when he thought I was overreacting. I'm just pointing out that she handles things differently. It's not a bad thing. It feels like a bad thing. Come on. He stepped closer, reaching for my hand. You're being sensitive. I love you. I'm marrying you. I just think you'd be happier if you didn't stress so much about everything. Like Vanessa. Yeah, like Vanessa. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I could feel the weight of every comparison, every offhand comment, every time he'd made me feel like I was the rough draft and she was the finished product. I pulled my hand back. Then maybe you should just marry her instead. I said it with a smile, the same way I'd said everything else for the past year. Light, easy, like I was joking. But this time, I wasn't. Derek blinked. What? You heard me. I kept my voice steady, even as my chest tightened. If she's so perfect, if she's everything you think I should be, then go ahead. Marry her. He stared at me like I'd just spoken a different language. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Yes. He laughed, but it came out forced. You're seriously upset because I said your sister is easygoing? That's insane. I'm upset because you've been saying it for months. My voice cracked, just slightly. And I'm tired of pretending it doesn't bother me. He opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. For the first time in a long time, he didn't have a comeback. I turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving him standing there in the silence I should have demanded a long time ago. I didn't hear from Derek for 3 days. No calls, no texts, nothing. At first, I thought he was giving me space, letting the argument cool down. Then I wondered if he was waiting for me to apologize. By the 4th day, I stopped wondering and started packing his things into boxes. My best friend Olivia came over to help. She didn't ask questions, just showed up with coffee and packing tape. We worked in silence for the first hour, folding his clothes and wrapping his stupid collection of vintage beer steins he'd insisted on displaying in our living room. You doing okay? She finally asked. I'm fine. You don't look fine. I taped up another box harder than necessary. I'm better than fine. I'm done. She nodded, but I could see the worry in her eyes. She'd been there for all of it. Every time Derek had made a comment about Vanessa, every time I'd brushed it off with a joke. She'd never said anything outright, but I knew she'd been waiting for me to wake up. I just hadn't expected it to feel like this. The call from my mom came on a Tuesday. I was at work halfway through a meeting when my phone started buzzing. I ignored it the first time. Then it buzzed again and again. When I finally stepped out to check, I had 6 missed calls from my mom, 3 from my dad, and a string of texts from cousins I hadn't spoken to in months. The first one I opened was from my cousin Rachel. Is this real? I stared at the screen, confused, and scrolled up. She'd sent a screenshot. It was an Instagram post, Vanessa's account. A photo of her hand, perfectly manicured, with a diamond ring catching the light. The caption read, I said yes. My stomach dropped. I clicked on the post, my hands shaking, and there it was. Vanessa, glowing. Her arms wrapped around someone just out of frame. The comments were already flooding in. Congratulations, heart emojis, people asking who the lucky guy was. I scrolled down, and then I saw it. Derek's account, tagged in the post. The phone slipped out of my hand and clattered onto the floor. Olivia found me in the bathroom 20 minutes later, sitting on the tile with my back against the wall. Hey, she crouched down next to me. What happened? I couldn't say it out loud. I just handed her my phone. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. Oh my God. Yeah. When did this? 2 weeks. My voice came out flat, hollow. It's been 2 weeks since I told him to marry her instead. Olivia sat down next to me, her shoulder pressing against mine. This is insane. Is it? I laughed, but it sounded wrong. I basically gave him permission. You were joking. He wasn't. She didn't have an answer for that. My mom called again an hour later. I let it ring. Then my dad. Then my aunt. Then Vanessa. I turned my phone off and went home. The messages kept coming. By the time I turned my phone back on that night, I had 43 unread texts. Most of them were from family members, asking if I'd seen the post, if I was okay, if I knew this was happening. A few were from friends, equally stunned. One was from my mom. We need to talk. Call me when you can. I didn't call. Instead, I opened the message thread with Vanessa. The last text I'd sent her was 3 weeks ago. Something about borrowing a dress for a work event. She'd never responded. Now there was a new message from her. I know you're upset. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Then I deleted the thread and blocked her number. The next morning, my mom showed up at my apartment. I opened the door and she was standing there with a casserole dish and a look on her face that I couldn't quite read. I brought lunch, she said. I'm not hungry. I'm coming in anyway. She brushed past me and set the dish on the counter, then turned to face me with her arms crossed. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. Your sister is engaged to your ex-fiancé. I think there's plenty to talk about. I leaned against the counter, my jaw tight. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me what happened. You saw the post. That's what happened. Before that. Her voice softened, just slightly. What happened between you and Derek? I looked away. He spent a year telling me I should be more like Vanessa, so I told him to marry her instead. Guess he took my advice. My mom was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. I didn't know he was doing that. Would it have mattered? Of course it would have. Really? I met her eyes. Because you've been doing the same thing my whole life. She flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? My voice cracked. You think I don't notice? Every time Vanessa does something, you light up. Every time I do something, you compare it to her. You've been telling me to be more like her since we were kids. That's not what I meant to. I know what you meant. I crossed my arms, my chest tight, and and so did Derek. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she didn't have a defense. I need you to leave, I said quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but we're not done with this. Yeah, we are. She left without another word, and I locked the door behind her. That night, Olivia came back over with wine and takeout. I'm not drinking, I said. Good, more for me. She poured herself a glass and sat down on the couch. So, what's the plan? There is no plan. You're not going to do anything? What am I supposed to do? I looked at her, exhausted. They're engaged. It's done. It's not done. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp. You don't just let them get away with this. I'm not letting them do anything, I'm just moving on. By hiding in your apartment and ignoring everyone, by cutting them out of my life. Olivia studied me for a long moment, then sighed. Okay, if that's what you need. It is. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. She just sat with me in the silence, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel completely alone. I deleted Instagram 2 days later. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't stop looking. Every time I opened the app, Vanessa's face was there. Another post, another caption about fate and timing and how sometimes the universe knows what you need before you do. The comments were worse. Hundreds of people I'd never met, congratulating her, calling them a beautiful couple, saying they could see the love in every photo. No one mentioned me. It was like I'd been erased. Olivia texted me that afternoon. Did you see what Derek posted? I hadn't. I'd blocked him weeks ago, right after Vanessa. But curiosity got the better of me, and I logged in on my laptop, using a burner account I'd made years ago for work. His post was from that morning. A photo of him and Vanessa at some cafe, her head on his shoulder, both of them smiling like they'd just discovered happiness for the first time. The caption made my stomach turn. Sometimes the right person has been there all along, grateful for second chances and new beginnings. The comments were full of people I knew, his friends, his coworkers, even a few of mine. Everyone acting like this was some heartwarming love story instead of a betrayal that had gutted me 3 weeks ago. One comment stood out. Glad you finally found someone who gets you, man. You deserve it. I closed the laptop and didn't open it again. My phone rang the next morning. My dad. I let it go to voicemail. He called again an hour later. Then my mom. Then my Aunt Carol, who I hadn't spoken to since last Christmas. I turned my phone off and went to work. At lunch, my coworker Bree cornered me in the break room. Hey, she said, her voice careful. I saw the post. Are you okay? I'm fine. You don't have to pretend with me. I'm not pretending. I poured myself coffee, keeping my back to her. It's done. I'm moving on. But your sister, I don't want to talk about it. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but if you need anything, I'm fine. She left, and I stood there alone, staring at the coffee pot like it held answers. The texts started coming in that night, not from Vanessa or Derek, from people I hadn't heard from in months. Distant cousins, old friends from college, even my high school lab partner who I hadn't spoken to in a decade. Most of them were some variation of the same thing. I heard what happened. Are you okay? Saw the news. Thinking of you. Let me know if you need anything. I didn't respond to any of them. Then my mom called again. This time I answered. Finally, she said. I've been trying to reach you for days. I've been busy. Too busy to talk to your mother? I didn't answer. She sighed. Look, I know this is hard, but you need to come to dinner this weekend. The whole family's going to be there, and we need to talk about this. Talk about what? About Vanessa, about Derek, about how we're going to handle this as a family. There's nothing to handle. My voice came out sharper than I intended. They're engaged. Congratulations. I'm not coming to dinner. You can't just avoid this forever. Watch me. I hung up before she could respond. Olivia came over that night with pizza and a determined look on her face. You're not deleting any more apps, she said, setting the box on the counter. I'm not. Good. Because hiding isn't going to make this go away. I'm not hiding. I'm protecting myself. From what? From seeing their faces every time I open my phone. I grabbed a slice even though I wasn't hungry. From reading comments about how perfect they are together. From watching everyone act like I never existed. Olivia sat down across from me. You know people are talking, right? I don't care. You should. She pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. Derek's been telling people you two broke up months ago. That it was mutual. That he and Vanessa didn't get together until after. I stared at the screen. It was a screenshot of a group chat. One of Derek's friends asking how long he and Vanessa had been seeing each other. His response was right there. We reconnected a few weeks after things ended with her sister. It just felt right. My hands clenched around the pizza slice, sauce dripping onto the plate. He's lying, Olivia said, and people are believing him. Of course they are. I set the slice down, my appetite gone. Why wouldn't they? He's charming. He's likable. And I'm the bitter ex who can't be happy for them. That's not true, isn't it? I looked at her. That's what everyone's going to think. That I'm jealous. That I'm making this bigger than it is. Then tell them the truth. And say what? That my fiancé spent a year comparing me to my sister and then left me for her? That my own family didn't even notice? I laughed, but it came out hollow. No one's going to believe me, and even if they do, it won't change anything. Olivia didn't argue. She just reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I believe you, she said quietly. It was the first time in weeks that I felt like someone was on my side. The next day, Vanessa posted again. I didn't see it firsthand. Olivia sent me a screenshot with a single word. Unbelievable. The photo was of Vanessa and Derek at my parents' house. My parents were in the background smiling, my mom's arm around Vanessa's shoulders. The caption read, family dinner with my favorite people, feeling so blessed. I stared at the image, my chest tight. They were already folding him into the family, already acting like this was normal, like I was the one who'd walked away, not the one who'd been replaced. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring. Sweetheart, I'm so glad you had them over for dinner? Silence. It's not what you think, she said finally. Then what is it? Vanessa wanted to talk. She wanted to explain. Explain what? That she's engaged to my ex-fiancé? I think the Instagram post covered that. She feels terrible about this. She didn't mean for it to happen. She didn't mean for it to happen. I repeated the words slowly, letting them sink in. So what? They just tripped and fell into a relationship? That's not fair. None of this is fair. My voice cracked. You had had them over for dinner. You smiled for a photo. You're acting like this is fine. I'm trying to keep this family together by pretending I don't exist. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? I waited, but she didn't answer. You know what? Don't bother. I'm done. I hung up and blocked her number. Then I blocked my dad and my aunt and every other family member who'd reached out with some version of, let's all just get along. By the time I was finished, my contact list was half the size it used to be. Olivia texted me an hour later. You okay? No, but I will be. I didn't believe it when I typed it, but I needed to. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the boxes of Derek's things I still hadn't thrown out. His clothes, his books, his stupid beer steins that he'd loved more than he'd ever loved me. I thought about calling him, demanding answers, asking him when he'd decided I wasn't enough, but I didn't. Because deep down, I already knew. He'd decided the first time he compared me to Vanessa, maybe even before that, and I'd let him. I'd laughed it off, brushed it aside, told myself it didn't matter, but it did, and now I was paying for it. I grabbed the nearest box and carried it to the dumpster outside, then another, and another. By the time I was done, the apartment felt lighter. I didn't. The invitation arrived on a Thursday. I pulled it out of the mailbox wedged between a grocery store flyer and a bill, the envelope thick and cream-colored with my name written in gold calligraphy. For a second, I thought it was junk mail. Then I saw the return address, my parents' house. I opened it standing right there in the hallway, my hands shaking. You are cordially invited to celebrate the marriage of Vanessa and Derek. The date was 2 months away. The venue was the same one Derek and I had booked, the same one I'd put a deposit on, the same one I'd toured 3 times, imagining walking down an aisle that was apparently never meant for me. I crumpled the invitation and threw it in the trash. Then I pulled it back out, smoothed it flat, and took a photo. I sent it to Olivia with no caption. She called me 30 seconds later. Are they serious? Apparently. They sent you an invitation to their wedding. Yep, your wedding venue. Yep. She was quiet for a moment, then, I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in the car. She showed up 20 minutes later with wine and murder in her eyes. This is insane, she said, pacing my living room. They can't actually expect you to come. I don't think they do. I was sitting on the couch staring at the invitation I'd left on the coffee table. I think they're just covering their bases, making it look like they tried to include me, so they can tell everyone you're the one being difficult. Exactly. Olivia stopped pacing and looked at me. Are you going to respond? No. Good. She sat down next to me. Because if you did, I'd have to stage an intervention. I almost smiled. Almost. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Rachel. Did you get the invitation? Are you going? I didn't respond. Another text came in 5 minutes later. My Aunt Carol. I know this must be hard, but it would mean a lot to the family if you came. It's time to move forward. I turned my phone face down on the table. They're already starting, I said. Starting what? The campaign? Making me the bad guy if I don't show up and play nice? Olivia's jaw tightened. You don't owe them anything. I know, but knowing it and feeling it were 2 different things. The texts kept coming over the next few days. My mom called twice. I didn't answer. My dad left a voicemail asking me to be the bigger person. An old friend from college sent a message saying she'd heard about the wedding and thought it was really mature of me to support them. I hadn't said a word to anyone, but somehow the story was already written. I was the gracious ex, the woman who'd stepped aside so true love could flourish, the one who was handling it all with dignity and class. It made me want to scream. Olivia and I went out for coffee that weekend, and I saw it happen in real time. We were sitting outside, and a woman I vaguely recognized from Derek's office walked past. She did a double take when she saw me, then smiled. Hey, she said, stopping at our table. I just wanted to say I think it's really cool how you're handling everything. Not everyone could be that mature. I stared at her. Excuse me? With Vanessa and Derek. I heard you're even going to the wedding. That's really big of you. I'm not going to the wedding. Her smile faltered. Oh, I thought you thought wrong. She blinked, clearly thrown. Well, I just meant that it's nice you're not making it weird for everyone. Making it weird, I repeated slowly. Olivia kicked me under the table, but I ignored her. You're right, I said, my voice flat. It would be so weird if I had feelings about my ex-fiancé marrying my sister 2 months after we broke up. Really awkward for everyone. The woman's face went red. I didn't mean it like that. Sure you didn't? She mumbled something about needing to go and hurried off. Olivia waited until she was out of earshot, then leaned forward. You okay? No. I picked up my coffee, my hands shaking. But I'm tired of pretending I am. The post started a week later. Vanessa's Instagram became a wedding countdown. Dress fittings, cake tastings, venue tours. Every photo was perfectly curated, every caption dripping with excitement. I didn't see them firsthand. Olivia kept sending me screenshots even though I'd asked her to stop. You need to know what they're saying, she told me. I wasn't sure I did, but I looked anyway. One post showed Vanessa and Derek at a florist, surrounded by bouquets. The caption read, choosing flowers with my forever person. I never knew planning a wedding could be this fun. The comments were full of heart emojis and congratulations. Then someone asked, what happened with his ex? Weren't they engaged? Vanessa's response was public. Sometimes things don't work out, and that's okay. We're all just grateful to have found each other. I read it 3 times, my chest tight. She'd made it sound like a breakup. Like Derek and I had drifted apart, and she'd just happened to be there to pick up the pieces. Not like he'd spent a year tearing me down and comparing me to her. Not like she'd known exactly what she was doing. Olivia called me that night. Did you see it? Yeah, she's rewriting history. I know. You need to say something. And say what? I leaned back against the couch, exhausted. That she's lying? That he's lying? No one's going to believe me. They're going to think I'm bitter. You're not bitter. You're hurt. Same thing to them. She didn't argue. The cracks started showing 2 weeks before the wedding. I didn't notice at first. I'd stopped checking their posts, stopped reading the comments, but Olivia noticed. They're fighting, she said, showing up at my apartment unannounced. Who? Derek and Vanessa. She pulled out her phone and handed it to me. Look, it was a screenshot of a comment thread under one of Vanessa's posts. Someone had asked where Derek was in the photos, and Vanessa had responded with a curt, he's busy. Another commenter had joked, trouble in paradise already? Vanessa hadn't replied. That's not fighting, I said, handing the phone back. That's just a comment. Keep scrolling. I did. There were more. Little things. A post from Derek about needing space. A vague story from Vanessa about how wedding planning was harder than she'd expected. A comment from one of his friends asking if everything was okay. They're unraveling, Olivia said. Good. She looked at me surprised. surprised. Really? Really? I set the phone down. I hope they make each other miserable. I meant it. The rumors started spreading a few days later. I heard about it from Bree at work. She pulled me aside during lunch, her voice low. Did you hear about Derek? No. Apparently he's been messaging people, women from his office, saying things about how he upgraded. My stomach turned. Upgraded? From you to Vanessa. She hesitated. I'm sorry, I thought you should know. I didn't respond. I just walked back to my desk and sat down, staring at my computer screen without seeing it. He'd done it again. Compared us. Ranked us. Reduced us both to some sick competition he'd invented in his head. And Vanessa had no idea. Olivia called me that night. People are talking. I know. It's getting messy. Someone posted screenshots in a group chat. Derek's trying to deny it, but the messages are right there. Does Vanessa know? I don't think so, not yet. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Part of me wanted to tell her, to send her the screenshots, to let her see exactly who she was marrying. But another part of me didn't care. She'd made her choice. Now she could live with it. The wedding was in 10 days when my mom called again. I answered without thinking. Finally, she said. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. I've been busy. Too busy to talk to your family? Yes, she sighed. Look, I know you're upset, but this wedding is happening and we need you there. No, you don't. Yes, we do. You're part of this family and people are starting to ask questions. It doesn't look good if you're not there. I don't care how it looks. Well, I do. Her voice sharpened. This is hard enough without you making it harder. I'm making it harder? I laughed, but it came out bitter. I'm not the one who got engaged to my sister's ex-fiancé. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I stood up, pacing my apartment. You want me to show up and smile and pretend everything's fine so you don't have to feel uncomfortable. But I'm not doing it. I'm done pretending. You're being selfish. Good. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Olivia texted me an hour later. Vanessa just posted something. You need to see this. I opened the screenshot. It was a photo of Vanessa alone, sitting on a bench, her face turned away from the camera. The caption was short. Sometimes the hardest part of love is trusting it. The comments were full of concern. People asking if she was okay, if everything was all right with the wedding. She hadn't responded to any of them. They're falling apart, Olivia said when she called, and everyone's starting to notice. I stared at the photo, something cold settling in my chest. Let them fall, I said, and for the first time I meant it. The call came from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Silence. Then a shaky breath. It's me, Vanessa. I should have hung up. Should have blocked the number and gone back to pretending she didn't exist, but I didn't. What do you want? I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please. Her voice cracked. Just 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. I sat down on the couch, my jaw tight. You have 3. She was quiet for a moment, like she was gathering herself. Then she spoke, her words coming out fast and unsteady. Did Derek ever talk about other women when you were together? The question caught me off guard. What? Did he ever mention coworkers? Friends? Anyone he was close to? Why are you asking me this? Because I found messages. Her voice dropped. On his phone, from women at his office. And I need to know if this is something he did with you too. I didn't answer right away. My mind was racing, trying to piece together what she was saying. What kind of messages? Flirting. Compliments. Telling them they're prettier than me? Smarter than me. She let out a bitter laugh. Telling them he upgraded. The word hit me like a punch. He said that? Yeah, he said he upgraded from one sister to another. Like we're cars or something. I closed my eyes, my chest tight. He never said it to me, but he didn't have to. He just kept comparing me to you until I got the message. I didn't know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I swear, I didn't know he was doing that. But you knew we'd just broken up. He told me it was mutual, that you'd both moved on. And you believed him. I wanted to. She paused. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. I confronted him, she continued, about the messages. And he laughed. He said I was overreacting, that it was just harmless flirting. Then he said if I had a problem with it, maybe I should be more like you. The irony wasn't lost on me. What are you going to do? I don't know. Her voice wavered. The wedding's in a week. Everyone's already coming. My dress is ready. The venue's paid for. So you're going through with it. I don't know, she said again. I just needed to hear your voice, to know if I'm crazy for thinking this is wrong. You're not crazy. I kept my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. But I can't tell you what to do. I know. She was quiet for a long moment. I really am sorry for all of it. Yeah, me too. I hung up before she could say anything else. Olivia showed up an hour later with takeout and a determined look on her face. Vanessa called you. How did you know? Because she just posted something cryptic about trust and honesty, and half the comments are people asking if the wedding's still on. She set the food on the counter. What did she say? She found messages from Derek to other women. Olivia's eyes widened. Are you serious? He told them he upgraded. From me to her. Oh my god. Yeah. She sat down across from me, her expression shifting from shock to something darker. What's she gonna do? I don't know. She sounded like she was falling apart. Good. Olivia's voice was sharp. She should be. They both should be. I didn't argue. The post went up the next morning. I didn't see it until Bree showed me at work. Her phone already opened to Vanessa's Instagram. It was a photo of the engagement ring sitting alone on a table. No hand, no context. Just the ring. The caption was one sentence. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. The comments exploded within minutes. People asking what happened, if she was okay, if the wedding was off. A few people tagged Derek, demanding answers. He didn't respond, but someone else did. One of the women from his office commented publicly, "You deserve so much better. Trust me." Another woman replied to that comment, "Agreed, he's been saying the same things to half the office." Then another, "He told me he was single 3 weeks ago." I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. It was unraveling, all of it. Right there in the comments for everyone to see. Bree looked at me, her eyes wide. "This is insane." "Yeah. Are you okay?" "I don't know." She squeezed my shoulder and walked away, leaving me alone with the phone. I scrolled through the comments, watching as more people came forward. Women I didn't know, sharing stories about Derek, how he'd flirted with them, lied to them, made them feel special until he didn't. One comment stood out. He did the same thing to his ex, told everyone she was the problem. him. Guess we know the truth now. I closed the app and set the phone down. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't sure if it was anger or relief. Vanessa called me again that night. I answered on the second ring. Did you see it? She asked. Yeah. I didn't know it would blow up like that. I just needed to say something. What did Derek say? Nothing. He won't answer my calls. His friends are telling me to calm down, that I'm overreacting. Her voice broke. But I'm not, am I? No, you're not. She let out a shaky breath. I canceled the wedding. I sat up straighter. You did? This morning, I called the venue, the caterer, everyone. It's done. What about your family? They're furious. My mom keeps calling, saying I'm making a mistake, that every couple has problems, that I'm throwing away something good over nothing. It's not nothing. I know. She paused. I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. About all of it. You didn't want to see it. No, I didn't. Her voice was quiet, but I see it now. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything hanging between us. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know. Figure out how to fix this, I guess. With you. With everyone. It's going to take time. I know. She hesitated. Can I ask you something? Yeah. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I didn't answer right away. I thought about the past few months, the anger and the hurt and the nights I'd spent wondering if I'd ever feel whole again. I don't know, I said finally. But maybe that's more than I deserve. Yeah, it is. She laughed, but it came out sad. I'll take it. We hung up a few minutes later, and I sat there in the quiet, staring at the wall. It wasn't closure, not really, but it was something. The fallout came fast. Derek's friends started posting damage control, claiming the women were lying, that Vanessa had overreacted, that the whole thing was being blown out of proportion. But the screenshots kept coming. Messages, photos, timestamps, proof that he'd been doing this for months, maybe longer. One of the women posted a long thread detailing how he'd pursued her, lied about being single, then ghosted her when she started asking questions. Another shared a voice message where he'd laughed about how easy it was to manipulate people. By the end of the week, Derek had deleted all his social media. Vanessa's post stayed up, and for the first time, people started asking the right questions. Not about why she'd called off the wedding, but about why anyone had believed him in the first place. Derek's apology came 3 days after Vanessa's post went viral. I was at work when my phone buzzed with a notification from an email address I didn't recognize. The subject line was blank. I almost deleted it without opening it, but I didn't. The message was long, rambling, full of excuses and half-hearted justifications, wrapped in the language of someone who'd been caught and was scrambling to rewrite the narrative. He said he'd made mistakes, that he'd been confused, overwhelmed by the pressure of the wedding, that he'd never meant to hurt anyone, that Vanessa had misunderstood the messages, taken them out of context, blown everything out of proportion. Then, at the end, he wrote the part that made my stomach turn. I think I made a mistake. I should have fought harder for us. You were the one I was supposed to marry. I see that now. I read it twice, my hands shaking. Then I forwarded it to Olivia with one word. Unbelievable. She called me immediately. He's trying to come back? Apparently. What are you going to do? Nothing. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. He doesn't get a response. Good. She paused. But you know he's not going to stop, right? Guys like him never do. She was right. The next message came 2 days later. Another email, this time shorter. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking anyway. Can we talk? I deleted it without reading the rest. Then another one the day after that. I miss you. I know I screwed up. Please just hear me out. I blocked the email address. He switched to texts from a new number. I'm sorry. I know you're angry, but we were good together. We can be good again. I blocked that one too. Then he tried calling from his office line. I let it go to voicemail. Hey, it's me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I know I hurt you, but I think we can fix this. Call me back. I didn't. Olivia came over that night with wine and a plan. You need to shut this down, she said, pacing my living room. He's not going to stop unless you make him. I'm not responding. That's shutting it down. No, that's ignoring it. He's going to keep pushing until you give him something. So what do you want me to do? Tell him to leave me alone? He already knows that. No. She stopped pacing and looked at me. You need to show him you've moved on, that he's not even a blip on your radar anymore. How? She smiled. You're going to send him something that makes it crystal clear he never had a chance. I stared at her. What are you talking about? You'll see. The idea came to me 2 days later. I was sitting at my desk, staring at the save the date card I'd been working on for weeks. It was simple, elegant, nothing like the over-the-top invitations Vanessa had been posting about. Just my name and someone else's. A date 6 months out. A venue I'd chosen because it felt right, not because it was impressive. I'd met him 4 months ago. A friend of a friend. Someone who'd shown up to a dinner party and made me laugh for the first time in what felt like forever. We'd started talking, then texting, then seeing each other more often. He didn't compare me to anyone. Didn't make me feel like I needed to be someone else. Didn't even know about Derek or Vanessa until I told him, weeks into dating. And his only response had been, that sounds awful. I'm glad you got out. It wasn't a whirlwind. It wasn't dramatic. It was just easy. And when he'd asked me quietly over dinner last week if I wanted to make it official, I'd said yes without hesitation. I picked up the save the date card and stared at it. Then I grabbed a pen. The envelope arrived at Derek's apartment 3 days later. I didn't hand deliver it. I didn't make a scene. I just mailed it like I would any other invitation, with a stamp and a return address and nothing else. Inside was the card. Clean, simple, impossible to misinterpret. And at the bottom, in my handwriting, a single line. You always said you wanted me to be more like my sister. Turns out I'm not. And thank God for that. I didn't tell anyone I'd sent it. Not even Olivia. But 2 days later, she called me, laughing so hard she could barely speak. Did you see it? See what? Derek's friend just posted in a group chat. Someone sent him a wedding invitation. Yours. My stomach flipped. How do you know about that? Because Bree's in the chat. She screenshotted it and sent it to me. She was still laughing. He's losing his mind. Apparently he's been calling everyone, trying to figure out who you're marrying, how long you've been seeing him, if it's serious. Good. Good? She paused. That's it? Just good? What else is there to say? I leaned back on the couch, a small smile tugging at my lips. He spent a year making me feel like I wasn't enough. Now he gets to see that I am. She was quiet for a moment, then softer. I'm proud of you. Thanks. I mean it. You could have fallen apart. You could have let them win, but you didn't. I almost did, but you didn't. She paused. And now you're getting married to someone who actually deserves you. That's not nothing. No, it's not. We hung up a few minutes later, and I sat there in the quiet, staring at the save the date card I'd kept for myself. It wasn't revenge, not really. It was just proof that I'd survived. arrived. The messages from Derek stopped after that. No more emails, no more texts, no more voicemails begging me to reconsider. He'd gotten the message. But other people hadn't. My mom called a week later, her voice tight. I heard you're engaged. I am. And you didn't think to tell your family? I didn't think you'd care. Of course I care. You're my daughter. Am I? I kept my voice steady. Because it didn't feel that way when you had Vanessa and Derek over for dinner, or when you told me I was being selfish for not going to their wedding. She was quiet for a long moment, then softer. I made mistakes. Yeah, you did. I'm sorry. Okay, that's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I leaned against the counter, exhausted. You chose them. You made it clear where I stood. I'm not going to pretend that didn't happen just because you're sorry now. I didn't choose them. I was trying to keep the family together. By pretending I didn't exist. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I closed my eyes. But I'm done fighting about it. You want to be part of my life? You can start by respecting the choices I make, including this one. I do respect them. Then prove it. She didn't respond right away. Then quietly, can I meet him? Your fiancé? Maybe. Eventually. Okay. She paused. I really am sorry for all of it. I know. We hung up a few minutes later and I sat there staring at my phone. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. Vanessa reached out again a few days later. Not with a phone call this time. Just a text. I heard you're engaged. Congratulations. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Thanks. I'm happy for you, really. I know. There was a long pause. Then another message came through. I know I don't deserve to ask this, but do you think we'll ever be okay? You and me? I thought about it. About the years we'd spent as sisters. Before Derek. Before everything fell apart. About the moments I'd looked up to her. Admired her. Wanted to be like her. And about the moment she'd chosen him over me. I don't know. I typed back. But maybe someday. That's more than I deserve. Yeah, it is. She didn't respond after that, and I didn't expect her to. But a week later, a package arrived at my door. Inside was a small box wrapped in plain paper. No card, no note, just the box. I opened it carefully. Inside was a bracelet. Simple, silver, with a single charm in the shape of a star. I'd given it to her when we were kids. Told her it was for good luck. She'd worn it every day for years. I held it in my hand, staring at it, my chest tight. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was something. I put it in a drawer and closed it. Maybe someday I'd wear it again, but not today. The wedding planning moved forward without drama. No comparisons, no second guessing, no voices in my head telling me I wasn't enough. Just me and someone who saw me for exactly who I was. Olivia was my maid of honor. Bree and a few other friends filled out the bridal party. My mom RSVP'd yes, hesitantly, and my dad followed suit. Vanessa didn't respond to the invitation I'd sent her. I didn't expect her to. But 2 weeks before the wedding, she sent a text. I'm not coming. I don't think it's my place. But I hope it's everything you want it to be. I read it twice, then set my phone down. You okay? My fiancé asked, looking up from the seating chart we'd been working on. Yeah, I smiled. I'm good. And I meant it. The day before the wedding, Derek sent one last message. It came through on a number I didn't recognize, and I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity got the better of me. I saw the photos. You look happy. I'm glad. I stared at the message, waiting for the anger to come. It didn't. I just felt nothing. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Then I went back to packing for the honeymoon. The wedding was small, intimate, exactly what I'd wanted. No drama, no tension, no ghosts from the past hovering in the background. Just people who loved me, celebrating something real. When I walked down the aisle, I didn't think about Derek. I didn't think about Vanessa. I didn't think about the year I'd spent feeling like I wasn't enough. I just thought about the person waiting for me at the end. And when he smiled, I knew I'd made the right choice. Not because he was better than Derek, but because he was right for me, and that was all that mattered. The honeymoon was 2 weeks in a place neither of us had been before. No history, no memories tied to anyone else, just us. We spent the days exploring, the nights talking about everything and nothing. He never once made me feel like I needed to be different. Never compared me to anyone. Never made me question whether I was enough. Because I was. When we got back, life settled into something I hadn't expected. Quiet, steady, normal in the best possible way. Olivia came over for dinner one night, a few weeks after we'd returned. She brought wine and stories about her latest dating disaster, and we laughed until our faces hurt. You seem different, she said, studying me across the table. Different how? Lighter, she smiled. Like you're not carrying something anymore. I thought about it. About the year I'd spent feeling like I was never quite right, never quite what someone wanted. About the months after, when I'd wondered if I'd ever feel whole again. I'm not, I said finally. And I wasn't. I didn't check Derek's social media, didn't ask anyone if he'd shown up to watch me marry someone else, didn't wonder if he regretted what he'd lost. It didn't matter. He'd wanted me to be more like Vanessa. Softer, easier, less complicated. But I wasn't her. I never had been. And the person I'd married didn't want me to be. He wanted me exactly as I was. That night, after Olivia left, I stood in the kitchen washing dishes. My husband came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. You okay? He asked. Yeah. I leaned back against him, smiling. I really am. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.